What's the deal? Now, I ain't black, and that's a fact. I'm Caleb the Great, not the Whack, and this is Exploring the Black Mind, where we try to find a jewel in every situation, each and every single time. So today's video, we're going to be reviewing Karine Jean-Pierre stumbles on CBS trying to explain how she missed Biden's decline. It sounds like some fraudulent activity. So, you know, if y'all are not hip on who KJP is or Karine Jean-Pierre is, she's basically, or she was, Biden's press secretary. So every time the press had a question, they would be asking Karine Jean-Pierre. And if I'm not mistaken, she's like LGBTQ, something like that. And she's also Asiatic. I think she has like Haitian, or she's from Haiti. Maybe she's a Haitian immigrant, something of that nature. But she's a fraudster. So we're going to get straight into it. Okay, I'm out here cooking some rice, so y'all got to forgive the young brother. All right, let's get to it.
Book. It comes out tomorrow. I can't remember what it's called in front of me. I don't really care. No one gives a shit. None of this audience is going to buy it. But she wrote a book, and it's about, I guess, why she left the Democrat Party, because she declared herself an independent now. You may or may not be aware. And when she dropped these weird amorphous teases, we were all like, what is it about? What? Oh, it's called independent. Okay, well, there you go. Apparently not too memorable. And everybody was like, what do you mean you left the Democrat Party? Like, you're like literally the face of the Democrat Party right now as you're leaving. And we weren't sure. And now she's made, and she was saying she was so like disgusted with her party that she had to leave it. And we're all like, what'd they do? Like, there's so many things to choose from. Which specific thing set you off? And now we have finally learned what it was that made her so upset. Okay, here, hold on, let's see. Do we have it where she explained it, guys? Why she left? I'm looking at, is that 41? Okay, there we go, 41.
I have to say, I thought you were going to say that try as you might to convince Joe Biden to drop out of the race, because what we were seeing is what you were seeing, and he was struggling, couldn't do it. I thought you were going to say you were angry at that, but mostly,
I did too.
What you said in this book is you're angry at the people who tried to push him out.
Yes, that's correct.
Some Americans are going to say, seriously?
But not just the party that pushed him out, the party as it's behaving today in this moment when we need a Democratic Party to be fighting, to be an opposition party. And that really what ignited the book. Right after the administration, I was just minding my business, right? No longer a public servant, going to the grocery store, going to my kids' school. People would come up to me, and strangers, and they would say, what's going on with the Democratic Party? Why aren't they fighting? We knew what was going to happen after this election. Why are they not prepared?
So that's it. She's angry that they abandoned Joe Biden.
Very independent-minded, Megan. She's the last person in America who still believes this. Like everyone, it's her and the Biden family. They are independent in this point. But my hunter. Yes, exactly. My whole reaction to this is like she's trying to capitalize on the way the independent label right now is hot in the marketplace, right? Like independent media, people identify as independents at pretty high levels right now. And so she wants to come in and look like she's someone who is leaving the two-party system behind. She's so frustrated with everything. This is a period of very low institutional trust. So Karine Jean-Pierre is going to come in, criticize the institutions, and that's her ticket after the Biden era, with which she really disgraced herself. She's made herself almost unemployable. That's just obvious here in DC. I mean, the level now, the reckoning that's happened with Biden being allowed to, like media not criticizing him, other prominent Democrats not criticizing him. There's been at least somewhat of a reckoning over that, which is really bad for Karine Jean-Pierre because she's the one who went out and put a bright smiling face on the Biden administration every day for years as the president was ailing behind closed doors. So she is basically unemployable. So she got the one thing right, that people are sick of the two-party system and establishment politics and all of that. What she didn't quite have the cleverness to realize is that clinging to this idea that Joe Biden actually should have stayed on the ticket is insane. And I wonder who she's really spending time with that made her think that could qualify as independent with any credibility on this book tour.
Let me tell you something. Let me tell you what it's like to be an actual political independent, Karine Jean-Pierre. In my lifetime, I voted in 9 presidential elections, and I have voted for Democrats in 4 of them and Republicans in 5 of them. I have, as a broadcaster, gone toe-to-toe with the best of them on both sides. I have had contentious interviews with many, many Democrats and many, many Republicans, too. I challenge both sides and have a history of doing that. Karine, let's check in on how Karine's life as an independent is going, because she did elaborate a little bit more. Maybe she's coming over to where I am. Let's check out SOP 42.
Admit, as an independent myself, I did read a few, of these passages and go, it really feels like you're setting this up as Democrats versus Republicans. Would you ever vote Republican?
No, I would not vote Republican.
So then are you an independent?
No, here's the thing. What I'm trying to highlight is the system is indeed broken. We need a two-party system that's functioning, that's actually functioning in order for our democracy to work. And what's happening right now, it is not working.
If you're really an independent, though, how can you rule out a whole party? I mean, presumably, I don't know where you live. There might be a candidate who's a Republican who you happen to like more than the Democrat.
Right. I mean, look, right now, where the Republican Party is in this moment, I care about the vulnerable communities out there. Project 2025 is
So you an independent Democrat. So you so much against the Democrat Party that you want to be independent. But at the same time, you're so much for the Democrat Party that you can't vote Republican. This lady is such a fraudster. It doesn't even make any sense. And I actually like her based on the way she looks. She's very beautiful. But she's so dumb. And if you just watch some of her press conferences, when she tries to answer questions, like she answered the question people were asking her, is Biden gonna pardon his son? Is Biden gonna pardon his son? She kept saying, no, he's not. No, he's not. And then when he did it, her response was so slow. And this is the problem. The problem is that you're a liar. You're a liar. And for you to say that you're independent of what? For you to say that I'm for the Democrat Party because I support helping under, what the heck she just say?
Look, right now, where the Republican Party is in this moment, I care about the vulnerable communities out there.
She cares about the vulnerable communities. But then when Democrats raise taxes on poor people, when Democrats raise land taxes and taxes so they could support the social services, because people, you gotta understand, there's no such thing as social services without taxes. Okay, the government is not rich beyond means. The government has to have revenue. Okay, the government is richer than a lot of people, and the government is richer than a lot of companies, but the government makes revenue from taxes. And this is why Trump putting tariffs on the board makes more sense, because okay, let's tax companies from other countries rather than taxing individual people. So Houston has a tax, Texas has a tax, Louisiana has a tax, New Orleans has a tax, Illinois has a tax, Chicago has a tax, Georgia has a tax, Atlanta has a tax, and that's just to name a few. Every government has their own individual taxes. Then you have federal taxes. Okay, and this is how the government gets money to fund these social programs. So this type of stuff that the Democrats push, like they're looking out for the underprivileged people of society, it's fraud, because at the end of the day, it's still the people that have to pay for the government to look out for them. All right. So when you say we want to look out for illegal immigrants, okay, but where is that money coming from? The money is obviously coming from taxes. This is lies. So she's a capper. And this is my thing. I'm not for either party, right? And I'm just like that. If the Democratic Party or the Democrat Party comes up with policies and ideas that are really beneficial for individuals or really beneficial for the country as a whole, I will support them. If the Republicans start going against policies that make sense, I will go against them. I am not either, I have no fealty or no loyalty to any party. But the reality is you got to use common sense and you have to use critical thinking skills. The critical thinking skills let you know that the government is stealing your money. Because if you look at all major cities in America, they're all Democrat. Okay? They're all run by Democrats. They have high taxes, they have high crime, and they have low functionality. They have low credit scores. And I learned that from Anton Daniels. I didn't even know that governments had credit scores. They have low credit scores, meaning that they're not paying on their debt and people don't want to sell to them. So yes, the government borrows money. And so for you to think that the government owes you something, forget it. If you want to talk about reparations, that's a different conversation. But for you to think that the government owes you social services as far as food and healthcare and these things, it's just making your life harder. You're not seeing it today because you're just looking at the money coming in, but it's a plan to finagle you in the end. So I could twist your arm. Now you don't have anything to fight for. And, I wrestle you down. And I keep bringing up COVID. COVID was a perfect example. People were wrestled down so much that people didn't even fight back for the whole COVID vaccination thing. When people were making us wear masks and making people get vaccinations, people were so worn down that they couldn't even see the light of day. And so this lady right here, she's the epitome of a finesser. And she's a liar. And what she's saying doesn't even make any sense. Because you can't be for the progression of poor people by way of taxes, right? Because America was built off of the protests for no taxation without representation. I don't know if people remember this, but the colonies did not like the fact that the King George III, to be specific, were taxing them people out of their eyeballs. They didn't like that. And so they protested and they created their own government. Now people are voting for people to tax them out of their skull cap. I mean, y'all got to wake up.
Their Project 2025 is something that they're touting and they're actually ticking off.
This Project 2025 stuff is so lame. It's so lame. Nobody has ever read Project 2025 and nobody can prove that Trump is really pushing for Project 2025. In reality, Biden needed a doctor in 2025. Okay? So for this person, for these people to just talk about like this cannot be the only fighting point. Trump is not the enemy of progress. The enemy of progress has been around before Trump was even born. You understand? The enemy of progress was around before Trump was the president. And his name was Obama. You dig? So these people are lying in your faces. And they're using Trump as a poster child for evil. Meanwhile, they're pushing people that are so old that they can't even walk straight. They can't walk up the steps of the plane. They don't know where they at half the time. And then they turn around and they say Trump is an evil person. Yeah, but Trump knows how to walk. You see what I'm saying? Trump is eating McDonald's sandwiches and drinking Diet Coke, and he's still okay, and he's 70 something. So why would you let your grandpa run for president when your grandpa don't even remember where he was at yesterday? You see what I'm saying? So if somebody's willing to put their grandpa in office instead of running their nephew or their cousin or even running for themselves, why would you trust that person? Why would you trust that person?
That's scary to me.
Ah, okay. So she's only independent insofar as she wants the ability to say, you should have stuck by Joe Biden. You know why, Emily? Because there was nothing wrong with Joe Biden. I'm just going to give you one more. This is Karine Jean-Pierre describing her ride on Air Force One to the disastrous debate of his South 39.
Biden, you said you're a member of the inner circle and you never saw the decline. And after that, I wrote, how? Yep. You even write, Karine, that you were on the plane with him going to the debate.
Oh, Gail.
And you didn't see anything.
Well, when
so
we were
hard.
You didn't see anything. Man, these people is crazy.
On the Air Force One going to the debate, you got to remember his campaign people were on the team, his family was on the team. I actually was one of those rare trips that I didn't really see him until after the debate, even though I was on the plane. So really, I want everybody to know that I take this question incredibly seriously. I do. I was his White House press secretary, which means I had a role that saw him practically every day and traveled with him.
And you saw nothing.
For more than 95%. We've always said, we're not going to say, oh, he didn't age. He aged. And he poked fun at it. We always owned up.
Who's we?
And with age comes what happens when you get older.
Okay, who is we? I'll talk about us as a show when I sit in this anchor desk because it's a little less self-aggrandizing than I made the decision and I, whatever. And a lot of what we do here is a team effort. She's not a we. She doesn't have a job. She no longer has a team. We've always said we. You mean you. Why don't you just own it? She's somehow doing a we thing here as cover for the fact that she did cover up for Joe Biden. But since it's a we, it's more like we saw what we saw. We all saw the same thing. We didn't see the decline. But we've always acknowledged that, he was getting older.
What garbage also from Gail King, Megan, who's asking Karine Jean-Pierre, how did you not see it? Gail King, you cover the news every single How did you not see it? Gail King, you cover the news every single morning. How did you not see it and take it seriously? Part of the reason we don't have a functional two-party system is that the media is wildly dysfunctional and in the tank for one of the parties. Therefore, there were no incentives from the media on major Democrats to disown Joe Biden and disown the DNC's efforts to push other people out of running in a primary against Joe Biden. I mean, Karine Jean-Pierre is absolutely correct. The system.
And that's the point that people do not want to acknowledge. Okay, if you're talking about democracy, which this light is tripping in the back, but anyways, you're talking about democracy, right? Which is the rule of the people. This government is a Republican form of government, but at the same time, it has democratic facade. It has a democratic face, meaning that we vote for things, right? But that's a republic anyways. I don't know where these people get this bull crap from, but if you just want to use that for a talking point, if this is a democratic situation, that means people should vote. Nobody voted for Kamala Harris, right? They didn't want anybody to go up against Biden. Biden was basically the golden goose because most people don't, if you look at it, when it's a sitting president, the sitting president is going to try to get reelected, and most people in that party are not going to challenge him. That's just, it's an unspoken rule. It's not a real rule because you should be able to go against the president if you feel like, you want to beat him. But that has just been the practice, the tradition. Okay, when you have a sitting president, nobody goes against him, and we put him up for office again. But at the same time, Joe Biden was so old, even before he won in 2020, that, or was it 2021? When he won in 2021, no, he won in 2020, but he got into office in 2021. Everybody already knew that Joe Biden was up. Joe Biden has been in office since the 80s. I wasn't even born in the 80s. You know what I'm saying? So it was a wrap before Joe Biden even got elected. And then coming up to this election, they made it so that nobody could challenge him. And then when they finally realized that Joe Biden was trash, like she said, up to that debate, when Joe Biden crashed out and he embarrassed himself in that debate against Trump, and he said, we beat Medicare. That's when they knew it was over. This was like last year, a year and 3 months ago. It was July, I think. It was so trash. I seen that debate live. I remember. It was so trash. And so for these folks to act like they really care about the American people, you got to question how. How do y'all care about the American people if y'all was willing to put somebody grandpa, somebody grandpa, somebody great grandpa? Like Joe Biden is so old that when he go to Walmart, he need one of them little carts. He need to just be driving around in them. He need a handicap sticker everywhere he go. That's how old Joe Biden is. And there's handicapped people that's not old, but I'm just telling you, Joe Biden is finito. He was, and if you look at old pictures, we could look at him. Joe Biden has transformed. And so this lady, Karine Jean-Pierre, is such a liar that it's not even funny. It's really not funny.
Is not functioning. Part of that is because of journalists, and the other part of that is because you have so much consolidated control in the Democratic Party, which she's not talking about one bit, that allowed people like her to go out there without any shame, hold her head high, and act as though everything was normal, threaten. If you talk to Alex Thompson, I'm sure he'll tell you, the incentives were stacked against reporting one single thing about Joe Biden's ailing health until the very end, when there was a Wall Street Journal story like a month before the debate. But the reason is that, and I think journalists should have made much more courageous decisions, but the reason is that they were being threatened by people like Karine Jean-Pierre with losing all of their access to the Democratic Party and the Biden White House.
Oh, 1 second, y'all. 1 second. I'm out here tweaking. My bad. I'm supposed to be showing y'all the little drip. Let's get back to it.
Now, so give me a break.
And Gail, I mean, in her defense, Emily, she was doing astronaut training. She could not be responsible for also following the decline in the acuity. Give her a break. I'm sure she's behind the scenes doing the sub-zero temperatures. You still have to function just like Alan Shepard, because she's the new Alan Shepard. Just ask her. The other place she could have found out if she were busy with the astronaut thing is her best friend Oprah, who I'm sure also knew, just like Gail very clearly knew, because she's shocked that Karine didn't know. So clearly Gail also didn't know, which means I guess Oprah didn't know. No one knew, which explains why Oprah, when she got to sit with Kamala Harris, didn't say, "Why didn't you tell us?" Instead, she said, "Kamala Harris!" Yes. And then that was it. That was pretty much it.
And Gail King is in these...
And these people was all in on it. That's the point. What type of people do we have in our corner? I mean, it ain't my corner, but I'm just saying, y'all talking about... See, this is the problem. This is why we call it exploring the black mind, right? Because the mind where you find precious minerals, precious jewels, is being corrupted. Now we don't have a mind that has precious jewels, but now we have a mind that's really a ticking time bomb. So your own brain is your worst enemy, because you think that people that are dark skinned are more of your friends. Let me show y'all something. You see these people? This woman's face, she's very beautiful with her old self. This woman right here, she's very beautiful too. She got nice teeth. She could speak well. You know what I'm saying? She just a little pale around the edges. But because these people don't match your skin tone, you think that these people are your enemies. All right, let me get the full screen. But if you really think about it, do some research. I think it was less than 2% of so-called white people own slaves. Most people that own slaves, let me rephrase this. Most so-called white people that are in America today were not even in America at the time of slavery. Most European countries did not even participate in the slave trade. A lot of European people were slaves themselves. And they are running around letting you believe that they had something to do with something that they did not have something to do with. And that's the sad part, because you believe that white people enslaved you. And I'm going to say white people because that's what you call them. But I say so-called white people because they're not white. Okay, these people are pale skinned. I'm not black. I'm brown. But I would never call myself brown because people are not crayon colors. People have nationalities. Human beings have descendancy. We have nations that we descend from, and nations are named after other human beings or names that people agree to, right? It has nothing to do with skin color. But the reality is, pale-skinned people experience slavery just like everybody else on the earth. But you think that all pale-skinned people had some type of hand in your downfall, and that's a lie. And they will believe that lie, and they will agree to that lie because it helps them get further ahead. And so the point of this show is to let you know, stop giving people power that they didn't have in the first place. And sometimes people, you just listen to what people got to say, because they might say something that's true. You know what I'm saying? They might tell you the truth about yourself. They might not tell you the truth about them. And I'll tell you this. If you bring up the idea of so-called white slavery, that's what they call it, white slavery. If you bring up white slavery to a European person, they're going to pause. And they're going to agree with you. Because they know that's what happened. They know that their ancestors, I learned this in school about indentured servitude. When the Irish people came over here, a lot of English people, Polish people, a lot of people that you're talking to right now in school, at church, at work, their grandparents were slaves. They came over here on boats in indentured servitude. Indentured servitude is slavery. They say indentured servitude for European people, and then they say slavery for so-called black people. But the reality is, most so-called black people really were indentured servants. And I'm saying this to say that you cannot let people finesse you out your bag because they look like you. And then they're using this racial conversation to make you feel like these people that look how they look, even though they're beautiful, their hair is done, they got lipstick and, you know what I mean, the earrings, and she worked hard. You don't know what she looked like when she was little. She probably had holes in her shoes. She probably had holes in her jeans. You know what I'm saying? You don't know these people's past. You don't know what their parents went through. And for you to say, like, the biggest thing that people say is white people had a 400-year head start. I'ma say it again. Most of these people, you can ask them themselves. They grandparents just came over here. They were not here for 400 years. That is a lie. That is crazy. It's stupid. But they would let you say that, and they'd be like, you sure right. I don't know why we did that to you. They didn't do nothing. They was in Europe sitting up there peeing on themselves. They was in Europe starving. And then they came over here and they made something of themselves, and they will allow you to say that white people enslaved you. That's not who enslaved you.
Elite circles, like, she does not cover politics every single day on CBS. It's unbelievable. Yes. She's been on David Geffen's yacht with the Obamas and not said a word about it during her coverage. So if anyone was in a position to know that people had concerns behind the scenes about Joe Biden's health, it would, have been Gail King. You don't think they're talking about that on David Geffen's yacht?
Hold on, let's bring it back.
In these elite circles.
Kamala Harris!
Hold on, y'all. Let me try to fix this. Let me try to fix this screen right here. One second. We're having some technical difficulties. You heard? All right, let me see. Is this what it is? Nah, this thing tripping. That thing is cripping. You heard? Hold on, wait. Wait, what is? I'm tripping. How's this thing like this? Okay, here we go. Nah, it's not working. It's not participating in the way that it should participate in. What the heck? This thing is acting crazy. All right, we gonna just slide this thing over here, right here. This is acting beyond usual. We're gonna listen to Megyn Kelly act like Oprah one time. Let's go.
Yes. And then that was it.
Let's do it one more time.
No one knew, which explains why Oprah, when she got to sit with Kamala Harris, didn't say, "Why didn't you tell us?" Instead, she said, "Kamala Harris!" And then that was it. That was pretty much it.
And Gail King is in these elite circles like she does not cover politics.
Mind you, right? Gail King is the woman that interviewed Megan Thee Stallion when she sat up there and lied about Tory Lanez, right? Now it's messed up. My boy Tory can't come home because they done denied his appeal. I am really distraught about Tory Lanez's situation, but at the same time, Tory Lanez made his bed and he got a lay in it because he should have never took the blame for shooting somebody that he didn't shoot. He said he took the blame for Megan's friend because she was a single mother and he didn't want her to go in jail and he didn't want Megan to go in jail. He's a simp. He's a panderer. He is crazy. I would never take a charge for a woman just because she a woman or just because she got a baby and she sat up here and tried to shoot somebody and now I'm in jail and I get stabbed how many goddamn times. Tory, that's my guy, but that ain't it.
Every single day on CBS. It's unbelievable. She's been on David Geffen's yacht with the Obamas and not said a word about it during her coverage. So if anyone was in a position to know that people had concerns behind the scenes about Joe Biden's health, it would, have been Gail King. You don't think they're talking about that on David Geffen's yacht? I think they were talking about that on David Geffen's yacht.
100%. She knew, they all knew they were part of the cover-up. But here's Karine Jean-Pierre, a little bit more of her, what? Shocked, I tell you. Stop 40.
But when we talk about the mental acuity, and again, I take this very, very seriously. Yeah. I never saw anyone who wasn't there. I saw someone who was always engaged. I saw someone who understood policy, pushed us on the policy, and also understood history. And there were times, I'll tell you the story, there were times where he would call me into the Oval Office, and I would be like, oh no, because I knew whatever he was going to ask me was going to be direct, was going to be about a story he read, about how we're pushing back, how we're pushing a message forward.
Well, that I believe, because she's an idiot. And at his worst, Joe Biden was smarter than Karine Jean-Pierre. I'm sure she did panic every time she got called in there. Oh shit, he wants to talk about the Nobel Prize. The Nobles? Well, this year, Mr. President, the Nobles are thinking about giving it to someone noble. That's all I have for you so far. I mean, truly, she really might have been the dumbest person in the White House ever. And she was in Kamala Harris's White House. Buy gold and get free silver.
All right, I think that's it. I'm out here sitting up here eating this treacherous Reaper. Man, look, if y'all go to Dave's Hot Chicken, do not get the Reaper. You did. That joint is hot. It's crazy. It's not even cool. They ain't gonna hold you. They gonna make you sign a waiver, and you sign that waiver because it's serious. Anyways, this is Exploring the Black Mind with C-Line the Bay. I'm Caleb the Great, your host, and I'm gonna catch y'all on the next one. You did.